So, I'm a lover of old things. I love vintage things, and vintage things give me a warm feeling. I know that it must do for you too, because when you listen to old vinyl or you listen to old tapes and all sorts of old things, when you're watching old films, it really does bring out a sense of warm feeling. When you think about the 80s and how the 80s used to be, it was a really, really good time, man. Everything just seems so new and people are pining for this old look. And that goes with film as well. Even when we're talking about modern cameras, we really want to try and grab that nice feeling from our sensors, and these old sensors, they really do give you that. But looking at the new kid on the block now, the 650D, what do I really think of it, having used it for a little while now? Well, the truth is, I think it's actually awful. Awfully good, that is. Run the tape.
A brief interlude with the 650D.
So what you just saw there was a couple of shots from the 650D, which I made for a documentary I've got coming up. It's kind of like a film documentary about the origins of Magic Lantern and why it was created and what it's being used for now. The problem with the Eos-m now is that it's getting very expensive, man. When I got my friend to hold up the SD card at the end, that SD card was £120, which I used for my Sony. And that was the same price that I paid for my 650D that can shoot 14-bit RAW. I just think it's crazy now that you can buy these cheap cameras with these lovely old sensors that can give you so much for so little. So one thing that came apparent when using Magic Lantern on the Eos-m was the heat. The heat management is wild. Sometimes, even in the UK, which is relatively cold, I could see my heat spike up to about 50 degrees. And I think the working temperature of the Eos-m is about between 50 and 55 degrees. So if you're going around that, your camera could shut off at any point. But there's also other problems that it introduces when you're going that high. You could get a noisy sensor, your SD card could fail, the hardware could fail, because the Eos-m is so small, there's hardly any heat management inside the camera. And that's why we put a Noctua fan inside of the M Lite to control that heat and bring the temps right down. And the 650D, having a slightly bigger body, not only is it better for handling, and you've got the flip screen, and it just feels really nice, bigger batteries, but it also has better heat management. So you should run into less problems than with the Eos-m. So using the 650D, it just feels much better for handling, for shooting, and as I said, the flip screen is invaluable. Absolutely love the way this is built. I haven't done a head-to-head test yet with the Eos-m versus the 650D, but I will do that sometime in the next couple of weeks. But to my naked eye, I do slightly prefer the 650D. Now, technically, it should be the same because everything is the same, the sensors are the same. The only thing that's really different is the 650D, 700D have a slightly faster sensor readout. So that should help a little marginal bit with rolling shutter, but I also think it just pips the Eos-m in terms of image quality. A lot of people say that the 5D Mark III is better in low light and all that kind of stuff, and I do understand that argument. But even when I use my FX30 The top ISO is only 2500, and coming from a Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K and the 6K Pro, I'm used to working with small crop sensor cameras, so that's not really a problem for me. I tend to look for locations which have reasonably good light if I'm doing low light, or I will take a few little tubes with me. Nothing special, just a few tubes to help me get a better light, because the EOS-M really does love light. The 650D, the 700D, the EOS-M, the more light you can give them, the better. So that's why you see a lot of people shoot in daytime only. And if we look at these two shots here, having the sun in the right direction can immediately transform your footage. Even when we're talking about grading and stuff like that, I don't do that much grading anymore. I tend to try and shoot as I want it to be seen, and then I enhance it in post. So you can see from these shots here, with the sun and without the sun at roughly the same time, you can see how good the one with the sun looks. So please, if you're shooting with Magic Lantern, just use the sun. It will help you get your footage looking proper nice. Another case for the 650D, and that's the EF mount, because EFM lenses, if you invest a lot of money in them and then you move on, you graduate to like a P4K or some sort of next camera, another higher end Canon, there's nothing you can do with those lenses. You have to sell them all and start again. You can't use autofocus on the EOS-M because it's just rubbish. It is flat out rubbish. So you might as well just buy yourself some Canon EF lenses, maybe even ones that are stabilized, and then you can use them on the 650D, a BMPCC 4K or a 6K or a Sony. You've got so much more options, and you don't have to keep changing lenses. So my opinion about the lightweightness of the EF-M for traveling, yeah, it's good up to a certain extent, but you do find yourself going into the money pit and you'll have to go through that all over again. So EF lenses, I believe, is the way forward, speed booster or not. So rigging, I did actually try to rig this in many different ways. I tried some ghetto bits and just tried to see what could work and what couldn't work. And I actually put together a mock-up for a clip that would clip round the top and it would clip onto the back, so you could use hot shoe handle without the fear of it falling out. But nothing just seemed right. It just seemed like it was a bit of a waste of time, to be honest. And then someone messaged me on Instagram and told me about a cage which they use. I think it was for the 70D or for the 80D or something like that. And it looked good. It looked good in the pictures, and I actually bought one. And to be honest, I didn't really like it. And this is half the cage what's left there now. I literally just chopped it to bits the same day I got it, because the gaps and everything was just too big all over the side. And if you know me, you know that I like a clean rig, and it has to look like it fits, it works. And it just didn't work for me. I do appreciate the guy, sending me, the information on that cage. I don't regret it. I don't regret wasting the money. But, it's trial and error. And that's what this is all about. But yeah, I think it's not really worth trying to rig this. I would absolutely forget trying to rig this and buying cages. What I would buy is the battery grip. Definitely buy the battery grip, and I think that this is more useful than any cage, any top handle or anything you can get. This was absolutely amazing. I bought this one for £35, but I know some people have bought them cheap for as low as £15 or whatever, and being able to use a couple of extra batteries in here and get an even longer run time, much better grip for reels and for, just holding it in general. It just feels a lot better for stability as well with the extra weight. So yeah, don't bother trying to rig it. My opinion is just grab yourself a battery grip, get that extra weight on there. It looks really nice, and yeah, it works really well. So that's it, guys. That was a quick overview of the 650D. I do highly recommend it. I recommend it above the EOS-M, especially if you're going to keep the EOS-M in its original body. It's a fantastic camera, definitely one to keep and amazing to travel with. And I hope that's answered a few questions for you guys on how I feel about it. And if you're thinking about considering buying one, I think you should do, because the prices are really low at the moment. You can pick up one between 120 to about 180 for a 650 or 700D. I would go for the 700D really, because some 650Ds have the shutter bug problem where the shutter doesn't display properly on the Magic Lantern menu, even though it's right in the Canon menu. But the 700D already has a fix for that, and for that reason alone, I would say go for the 700D. But either way, but they both work. They both work really well. I love doing the slow-mo shots on the 650. It was just absolutely great. And it was a solid performer. Battery life was great. When I was in Paris, I only needed to take, what did I take? 3 batteries with me for 2 days and never run out. It was a fantastic experience. So yeah, definitely grab one if you can right now while the price is still low. And that's it. So look out for the next video, and I will see you soon. Later.